I'm not an expert. That's why we wanted to talk here with Bill DeFelice. He is the webmaster for hobbybroadcaster.net. This is Radio Survivor, the sound of strong communities. My name is Paul Rees-Mandel. With me is Eric Klein. And
I can't wait to build my first radio station.
I know. Well, we've been talking about AM stations. And Bill, you also mentioned that there are these Part 15 regulations which allow you to transmit without a license. Also for other broadcast bands. So it's also possible on the FM dial. Isn't that correct?
That is correct.
And that doesn't seem to be a big emphasis for folks who are, say, on your website in the forums on hobbybroadcaster.net. Why is that?
Well, there's a real reason, because the FCC Part 15 regulation that governs operating on the FM band is very, very restricted. It's done by field strength only. And the field strength that's allowed, which according to the regulation is 250 microvolts per meter, which is measured at a distance of 3 meters away from the radiator, you're lucky if you can actually cover a house, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's not very far. I mean, I don't have a field strength meter, so I'm completely incapable of measuring that. But just going off of sort of my common understanding what you just said, I mean, just simply measuring that 3 meters away, that's just a hair under 10 feet. That doesn't sound like a lot of power. So, but yet, you can go to Best Buy, or you go to Amazon, and you can buy a little transmitter for your car, right? And right. In order to put your smartphone, your MP3 player, man, or at one point your CD disc man over your input. Is that all operating under these same rules?
Well, they're supposed to be. A lot of these transmitters, even though they may have an certification number on it, making it supposedly compliant, we've done testing of transmitters, and a lot of them output a signal far greater than what's allowed legally.
Huh.
Someone says, "Oh, you could do this FM Part 15 unlicensed transmitting," and I cover blocks and blocks. It means they're probably operating out of range from what the FCC allows.
Exactly.
And simply because it is based upon how far your signal goes, basically.
And it sounds like because the FCC has made the FM version of this Part 15 micro radio much, much harder to have any fun with at all.
Much more restrictive, yes. And it's interesting, right? Because this varies from country to country. Different rules in Canada. There's different rules. I don't even know if they have these rules in the UK. And then in FM band, it's reserved where you can use up to a watt of power, which is...
They need more people doing more radio on the outskirts of town in New Zealand.
Yeah,
right?
apparently.
They want to let people free.
Yeah, exactly. So, is there much discussion in the forums there at hobbybroadcaster.net about the FM dial stuff, or is it really just the AM dial?
It's mostly the AM primarily, but there is some talk with the FM. Just to give you a little background, the impetus for making my site, I put in a campus radio station for one of the high schools. And I was actually able to give them an FM signal within their building. You're probably familiar with a company called LPB, which is now long gone.
Actually, I'm not. I've never heard of them. LPB,
which was low power broadcasting, they made a lot of the carrier current equipment back in the 60s and 70s and a little bit in the 80s for college and high school radio. The folks over there did an FM installation using what they call radiating or leaky coax. Where you would inject the FM signal into the cable. You would bury the cable in the ceiling of the building. And at least according to the documentation I got from them, you measured the Part 15 field strength at the exterior of the building at 3 feet away from the exterior wall, which is what I did for our project. And it worked fairly well considering the budget constraint I was in.
So you're in essence wiring up the school building with a cable that acts as a radio antenna.
Correct.
For this high school radio station that you built on the FM dial, all legal, non-pirate
and because
radio.
It's staying mostly within the confines of the building,
the cable,
that it's not really then a broadcast very far outside, right? So it's a matter of keeping it within those bounds. And this was an FM signal or an AM signal?
That was an FM signal.
That was an FM signal. Wow.
We had a range master on top of our building. There's actually a third rule that comes involved with AM, which deals with both carrier current and free radiating. which allows you to have as much signal as you need within your campus perimeter. But when you get out to the edge of your perimeter, your signal strength has to be equivalent to what is dictated under 15209.
So let's talk a little bit about that, actually. So you're talking about carrier current as leaky coax. And carrier current is something we've talked about here in Radio Survivor before, but I think it's worth revisiting.
Yeah, it's a wonderful
because
radio
it's really where
that
a
we
lot
need to
of
know more about here.
Yeah, it's where a lot of college radio gets started, right? And so can you tell us, like, what is this carrier current? It's AM broadcasting, and it's legal, low power. You don't need a license. But what is it actually?
Carrier current is the method of placing an AM radio signal onto the power lines using a special coupler, which couples the RF signal, the radio signal, onto those wires. So back in the days when it was really popular, you plugged in your radio to the electric outlet, which of course was acting like the antenna, bringing the signal into the actual radio receiver.